Today I'm going to talk about my work, and actually it's a very special part of my work, which is all that I'll be presenting today are these temporary works that are mostly done for exhibitions, and a few of them are really exhibitions that are outside of Hong Kong. So to me, it's very important to be able to work with Hong Kong culture and to be able to bring them to other parts of the world. And I think, to me, I think Hong Kong, although it's quite a chaotic place, but there's a lot of uniqueness that we can discover from its own culture. First, before I go into my work, I want to just say a few things about what's unique about Hong Kong. I think it's a very complex city. It's a juxtaposed city, as far as I can tell. You can see many layers and many things going on pretty much at the same time. You can see contrast between nature and man-made nature and images of nature pretty much like surrounding us everywhere. You can see a mixture of old and new. And then also, of course, yeah, even within the architecture itself, it's really a lot of different styles and a lot of different things happening at the same time. It's very rich in texture also on the street. You see a lot of kind of very interesting things going on that is, you don't expect that from a contemporary city like the street market. And very busy like street market that you see a lot of different things happening all at once. You see certain religious elements that are everywhere in our city. You see little temples kind of among the high-rise buildings. And to me, it is a city with a chaos, but it is organized in a certain way. So it's almost like Chinese calligraphy, where every word is kind of a diagram on its own, but then when you put them together, you start to find some order to it. You could see even like the way the street stalls and stores are being displayed. It is chaotic, but there is a certain system to the place. Even in the wet market, the market stalls are really displayed in a very systematic way. In the kind of like the herbal stores, you can see a very interesting way of doing merchandising that's very systematic. And also, I think there is always a sense of impermanence in the city. Everything is changing and nothing is here to stay. So you see a lot of temporary structure. You almost see structures that might have been there for a long time, but it looks like they're going to be disappeared like tomorrow. You see things discarded on the street. You don't know whether it's discarded or they're being waiting to be installed. But you see scenes like this everywhere. Very mobile. You see a lot of these push carts. So it really represents a city that is always moving and changing. So actually, with some of these elements, I start to think about my design and how I can use them in my projects. In 2003 was a very special time, in a way, a very sad period for Hong Kong. We just recovered from SARS. And SARS really changed the way we live in this city. There are a lot of kind of sadness to it. And then at the end of SARS, I think there is a need to bring back some happiness and also some tourism to Hong Kong. So the Hong Kong Tourism Board initiated an event during the MidAutumn Festival, which has to do with the celebration of Mid-Autumn. It's a time for family reunited and things like that. So there's also a lot of celebration, a lot of color for that time. Lantern is one of the celebrated elements for Mid-Autumn Festival. So the tourism board actually initiated a design for a very large lantern to be displayed in Victoria Park. And I entered the competition, and actually I ended up winning that competition to install this very large lantern. So what I did was I made use of some very local vernacular, like scaffolding, which we see everywhere. So I used that as an element to display a very unique Hong Kong craft. I created this lantern, which is 37 meter in diameter and 10 and 15 meter in height. And it was installed for a period of about 10 days. And it was really very well celebrated. And that was the opening day. And it was actually visited by a lot of people. And it's really a way of bringing back a sense of joy and family life to the city. So to me, I think work like this, I would like it to represent a certain culture and heritage of Hong Kong, but also certain kind of maybe technology. So we have a screen that is a 360 projection screen, and inside you see different displays. So from that opportunity, after that, I was asked to participate in more art-related installations. So in 2006, I went to Venice, and I represented Hong Kong for one of the installations. And what I wanted to do was, again, bringing bamboo as an element, but I was very intrigued by these kind of very organized chaos that happened in Hong Kong. That almost like when you put things that are very disorganized together in a system, it starts to form a very organized system, which maybe it also reflects the way the society works, is that it is composed of a lot of individual elements that start to form an order. So from there, I actually had the idea of bringing bamboo expert craftsmen to Venice, but I couldn't bring a very large crew. So I kind of came up with the idea of doing these ladders out of bamboo. So by itself, it's already a structural element. And then with the kind of stacking them and kind of putting them in with the traditional technique of scaffolding, I created this installation, which is made up of 500 ladders, and they form these, when you put them together, they start to create a certain order. And then being displayed in Europe, it became a very interesting event for a lot of people that are not familiar with Hong Kong. All of a sudden, they see something very unique about our culture. And there were symposiums and seminars around the installation. There are neon lights at the time. The technology called for neon lights, so that was the installation, and at night it light up the Venice skyline. And then actually the work has a second appearance. That was this year in Hong Kong. I had an opportunity to reenact it in Hong Kong at the Polytech University. But during this one, I kind of had actually the idea of working with people locally. So we actually worked with students and people from Hong Kong. The ladders were individually painted. So we had a week where people can come and paint the ladder. And then we also changed the color of the lighting to more colorful so that it really also represent more of what Hong Kong is all about. And again, it was very well received by people here. So it's a same work, but with different coloration. And in 2008, I did another installation for the Hong Kong Shenzhen Biennale. And at the time, there was a lot of controversy about the Star Ferry terminal in Hong Kong, which was being demolished. So there was a lot of controversy about that. And one phrase that came up that became very popular is the 集體回憶. It's like a collective memory. So that all of a sudden became something that is very Hong Kong. And then I used that to make a video clip. And then I also scout around for elements that become part of the memory. So I found that lantern in a street market in Hong Kong. So I kind of bought it, and then I have it transported to the Central Police Station. And I installed a bamboo structure in the middle of the Central Police Station, and then the lantern was displayed there. So it really becomes a piece of history that is being displayed in a new environment in Hong Kong. And again, it was very well received, and the installation becomes a place for people to hang out. And then at night, there was lighting. So again, I like to combine something very local Hong Kong with kind of LED lighting to create a more contemporary sense of the place. And then as a continuation of that kind of thinking of using Hong Kong elements, in the same time, I had done another installation in Holland. I was invited to exhibit in a design exhibition in Holland. So I was intrigued by these temporary structure that we see everywhere in Hong Kong. Very temporary, it looks like they're very easily taken apart. And also there's a certain privacy and public type of transparency to it. Inside the structure is definitely something very private or very secured, but outside it's kind of like a pavilion. So I took that idea, and then I used paper envelopes, and I created this structure in Holland that has to do with kind of the idea of connection, the way we connect with envelopes, and there are these threads that go through the envelope, which again, it's something that I hope to be able to communicate an Asian sense of sensitivity in a European city. And these envelopes were tied together with red strings. So again, I hope to convey a sense of Hong Kong in that place. And then I also was intrigued by these kind of structure that on Sunday in Hong Kong, actually, we see a lot of these temporary structure that people are actually spending the day in. And that inspired me to do this exhibition called Illegal Structure. And I kind of created these spaces that are very typical of Hong Kong, very unique, very tight spaces. In a way you feel scared and insecure about being in there. There's a box that is surrounded by a mirror, and it's a 9-meter long tunnel, so you walk in through it, and it's a certain uncertainty about what's at the end of the tunnel. I created this box where you go inside and there's a clock ticking, and it's just creating a very unusual environment, and also using the idea of very tight living conditions and created a work like this. So somehow all these to me are quite interesting. And in 2009, I did another project that has to do with bamboo scaffolding. So what I did was I used bamboo to create this bridge that is 20 meters across. And it's just spanned the structure, 2 buildings, and you can actually walk across it. Again, hopefully to demonstrate the strength of bamboo, that it could be reinterpreted in a more contemporary way and maybe break out of the mode of just being a scaffolding material. And this was actually Detour, which is a sister event of Business of Design Week. I'm going to just quickly go over this. This is inspired by the street markets in Hong Kong. And it's just a movable display. 2 years ago, I did this installation, again with bamboo and lantern during MidAutumn Festival. And this was the work that was shown yesterday at the awards ceremony. This is, again, making use of the Hong Kong vernacular bamboo theater, but really replanning it in a contemporary way, adding in a street market and exhibition spaces. And it was a celebration of the New Year, and it was very, very festive event for Hong Kong. Using a very long span bamboo structure, which is kind of a challenge and something that hasn't been done before. At Asia Society, I did a structure where I used, again, bamboo, and it's a giant wind chime. So when the wind blows, you will hear the sound. And in Los Angeles, earlier this year, we did this Hong Kong promotional event, again using the lantern as a way to demonstrate the culture of Hong Kong. And so in a way, to me, these are what I think are the vernacular elements of Hong Kong that's very interesting to me. A sense of speed, a sense of improvisation, juxtaposition, adaptable, flexible, pragmatic, and multiplicity. And actually, as we speak, I'm working on another structure that will actually open tomorrow. It's called Very Hong Kong. It's a bamboo pavilion, and it's very close to here. It's in the central reclamation area. And hopefully, if you're around tomorrow, you can go and take a look at it. So thank you very much.
I see that you've got a very deep understanding of Hong Kong. How does it feel like for you to go abroad and to discover cities abroad? Do you understand them as well, or are they strange to you?
I would say that understanding of a place has to do with how much you can get to interact with the place. But I think a lot of time, maybe when you first go to a place, the first impression, I think, is very important, because that really kind of create an overview of how you feel. And I think that's when you usually would go and explore the local culture and all that. But I think with this kind of exploration, usually it's quite superficial, and it's probably like really made for the tourist in a lot of time. So I think the more you go back to a place and the more you learn about it, then you probably start to discover things that are very unique. And I think those are the things that are, usually the most interesting. So when you go to a place, you don't want to go where the tourists go, but you want to go somewhere where maybe some local people would bring you. And I think it's really learning that kind of culture that is very interesting. And especially for us as designers, that really helped us build up the way that we understand design.
I know you have studied abroad, and then I want to find out that when did the recognition that you feel a stronger sense of being a Hong Kong person start initiated? Or is it after you have come back to Hong Kong and because you were asked to do some cultural projects, then you kind of rediscover yourself, your Hong Kong identity?
Well, actually, I think maybe having a stronger Hong Kong identity might have started because of the fact that I was away from Hong Kong. So because I was living in the US for about 12 years. So during that time, whenever you come back, you try to eat as much as possible the local food and go buy the local things, and then you bring back to the US and things like that. So I think even back then, and then you find things that are interesting here to bring back to your friends back where you're living. So I think with that, you start to really discover a lot of things that are unusual about Hong Kong. And I think when I moved back here, I moved back here in 1987, and still I was working and doing, I kind of take that as, at the beginning as something annoying, because why is it so different from the US? Why can't we have tidier streets? Why can't we have, more efficient, just cleaner, environment and all that? But then after a while, I think that might be the interesting thing about Hong Kong. And then I think it was really when I was asked to start doing, I think it started with the 2003 when I first started doing that lantern installation. And then afterwards, I have a lot more opportunity to be asked to do exhibitions, temporary structures about Hong Kong. And then I start to realize I don't want to do everything with bamboo, although, people still want me to keep doing bamboo, but I want to explore other ways of really looking at Hong Kong culture. And then I think then I start to, more intentionally try to discover what is unique about the place. So maybe I would think that being away from a place would actually make you look more closely at a place. And I think in a way, it might be a way for us as designer to think about how we approach design situations. Sometimes when you look at something too closely, you don't see it, but you step back and then you look at it again, and then suddenly things start to click.
Thanks a lot, William. Thanks a lot for giving us such a wonderful talk.
Thank you.
Thanks.